right, I'm going crazy with the videos tonight. I want to talk about, real quick maybe, I want to talk about the travesty, the stupidity. I want to talk about the travesty, the stupidity, and the just the silliness, the tragic. What would you call something that's tragic and silly at the same time? There's got to be a good word for that. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't even know. It's not like I can't think of it. It's like I don't even know if there is a word for that. So, it's tragic and silly. It's tragic and stupid. Whatever that word might be. The tragic stupidity of this notion of tolerance. Okay? It's like an abuse. It's like the ultimate, it's the Psyop, it's the number one Psyop of our age. Tolerance, tolerance, tolerance. I mean, listen, when it comes to virtue and vice, okay, you gotta have a verb and an object. Otherwise, you don't know if it's a virtue or a vice. That's the way it works, right? It's like any other activity. I ate. Well, was that good or bad? Well, it depends. Depends on what you're eating. Depends upon the circumstances under which you're eating. I mean, it depends on a lot of things, you know? If you're a bulimic or you have some kind of eating disorder, then maybe that's not good. If you're starving, literally, and you're eating, well, that's probably a good thing. Right? Unless you're eating something that's not good for you, like something that's poisonous, and that's not a good thing. So, tolerance, is that good or bad? Well, it depends. But they always paint it like it's good, because the people that control the language control the culture. So they're out there saying, tolerance is good, tolerance is good, tolerance is good, like tolerance is always good. Let me tell you something. Tolerance is not always good. It depends on what you're being tolerant of. I'm not tolerant of rape. I'm not tolerant of robbery. I'm not tolerant of random violence. I'm not tolerant of, of a lot of things. I'm completely intolerant of certain things, So, and you should be too. I'm doing the sign of the cross because I hope you're intolerant of things. God help you if you're not, That's not good if you're not tolerant, if you don't know how to be intolerant. I mean, we all need to learn to be radically, violently intolerant of certain things. I hope that you are violently intolerant of violence against your own body. I hope you are. And that is to say, I hope you know how to defend yourself. Right? So what this boils down to is tyranny. It's always about tyranny. Cultural issues are always about freedom or tyranny. And if people are pushing the tolerance canard on you, on us, because they push it on us day and night, 24/7 all the time, they are pushing tyranny. And here's why. I mean, 98% of the time, 99% of the time. Here's why. Because unidirectional tolerance is always tyrannical. So if I say, and maybe you don't need an explanation, but I like to explain. I like to blather and talk and blabber on. So that's what I'm going to do. If you don't need an explanation, then forget it. You don't need to listen to the rest, maybe. If you're listening, I appreciate it very much. And if you continue to listen, I appreciate it. If you turn the tape off right now, I appreciate the fact that you listened this far. But here's the reason. That unidirectional tolerance is always tyrannical. Because if I say to you, you have to be tolerant of me, but I don't have to be tolerant of you, that is tyranny by definition. That's classic, uncompromised, undiluted tyranny. Which means you have to be tolerant of me, which means I can beat you over the head, and you have to be tolerant of that. You can't do anything about it. Because if you do anything about it, you're not being tolerant of me. Now, obviously, let's not be shy here. Let's not be wilting flowers. This issue is always about homosexuality, always about transgender. And soon, you watch, right around the corner, it's going to be about transhumanism. It's going to be about people with certain kinds of prostheses in their brains, in their arms, in their legs. Maybe they've got a prosthetic leg that was not necessary, but it was, elective. They have a prosthetic eyeball that was elective. They have all right, whatever. I don't want to get carried away with examples, but it's all of this stuff is pointing in the direction of transhumanism. I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that homosexuality was always about, will always be about transhumanism. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about organically inspired homosexuality. I'm not talking about people who are organically, naturally homosexual, if they even exist. I don't know if they exist. I think they do. But I also think that they're like 1/100th of 1% of the population. It's an incredibly tiny number. 99% of homosexuals are homosexuals because they were sexually abused as children. That's the way they're pushing transhumanism. They sexually abuse the children become homosexuals, even quote-unquote good Christian, and I don't mean to question the fact that they're good or that they're questioned, or that I'm not questioning that fact. I'm just saying people known to be good Christians who are also homosexuals, okay? They're homosexuals because they were molested as children. All right? It's an army. It's an army of people who will then go on to be, a certain percentage of which will then go on to become transgenders. Okay? And the transgenders will then usher in the transhumanism. It's all about not dissecting, but it's all about chopping up. It's about the destruction of the human genome. That's what it's all about. It's about the destruction of humanity. It's all about Aldous Huxley. This is how you go, the Huxleyan view of the world, except in the Huxleyan view of the world, humans were still human. Okay? They were just managed to the nth degree. This is Huxleyanism on steroids. This is where humans are no longer even human. Okay? And no doubt, I don't know this to be true, but no doubt that Julian Huxley, who was Aldous Huxley's brother, Aldous was the author, Julian was the social engineer, real life social engineer, founder of the United Nations, or founder of the Council on Foreign Relations. I can't remember which. It's possible that what Aldous Huxley was doing was just presenting a kinder, gentler view of his brother's real goals and ambitions to the public. Because the public at that time could never in a million years envision transhumanism. Whereas for us today, transhumanism is I don't want to say 90%, but it's in a lot of movies. You go to the movies, you see so many movies, a lot of them are about humans that are not human. Sometimes they're reptilian, but in the cases that I'm talking about specifically, they're like humans melded, woven with machinery. Okay? Biological machinery. That's not really, biological. Well, machinery that is almost biological in nature. Okay? But also just machinery. So, and guess what? We all have to be tolerant. While they are chopping up humanity and putting it back together in a form that suits them, we have to be tolerant. Why? because they've brainwashed us all with this notion of tolerance. Okay, now, like I said, you got to have a verb and an object. The verb only has virtue if the object fits the verb. Okay? If you're being tolerant of rape, the verb is no good. Okay? It's like worship. If you're worshiping God, okay, you have to have an object for a verb in order to make a judgment on whether the verb is any good. If you're worshiping God, that's good. If you're worshiping a roll of toilet paper, that's not good. Okay, you got to have an object. And they're pushing tolerance on us without an object. They're pushing a verb or whatever tolerance is. Is that a verb? I guess that's an adjective. But to be tolerant, or tolerance, or to tolerate is a verb, right? So, anyway, this tolerance thing is a great canard. Not because tolerance is bad. Tolerance is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. You have to assess the object of the verb. What are we tolerating? If we're tolerating the destruction of humanity by taking something that occurs in nature, homosexuality, it does occur in nature, and blowing it up 10,000 times its natural size, and then saying it's normal. Oh, and by the way, not only is it normal, but its extrapolations into transgenderism, which will eventually translate into transhumanism. All of those things are natural and good, and we have to be tolerant of it. We have to tolerate it. Okay, no. In that case, tolerance is not good. In that case, we have to become very intolerant very fast. So, this is just my rambling, stuttered attempt to expose the great psyop of our age, which is this tolerance canard, this tolerance psyop. I hope you liked it. God bless you. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. And I got my disk space back, so I'm going to be making a lot of videos. I hope you like them. Bye.